a story told of an old man who lived in a dilapidated house that was no longer fit to live in. The roof leaked, the plumbing was rusted, and the foundation rotted. Finally, the plight of the old man was brought to the attention of the authorities, who stepped in to help him. They built a brand new house with all modern conveniences. The house, while small, was more than sufficient to meet his needs. The day finally arrived when the house was finished and he could move in. Guess what happened?
He died.
No.
Oh.
He fell down. He didn't like it.
He didn't like it and he didn't move. Fear of change prevented him from moving, even though it would have been for his benefit. Now, how many of us have been in that situation? Where the devil that we know, so to speak, is comfortable in some kind of way to what might be different. We want the situation to change, we say, but it isn't. And in some ways, for small congregations like ours, we are often like the old man. Fear of change is greater than the crisis. And in our case, the crisis was brought on by the resignation of our previous minister and our uneven financial resources. Now, we say we want change, and over the past 2 years, we've been taking steps to reinforce that idea for ourselves and for each other. Change is a choice, and change is a choice whether or not we agree with it. Change happens constantly. Change happens constantly. The only constant is change, I think, Aristotle or someone like that. But change is often, not always, the dreaded exercise that is presented in the media frequently. Just think about the thematic elements of recent movies. What's it been about? If change happens, disaster comes about. There are times when change excites us, energizes us, and motivates us. Buying a new car, for example. Getting a different house. Developing a new relationship. In our case, the new relationship is with our new minister. That's an example of taking the initiative to embrace change. So what's the real rub in change? It's not change. It's transition. Moving from one state to the other. Transitions create the most tension, as Reverend Joanne shared with us in her lesson. Change is an event. We change, that's it. Transitions are graduated processes, and often protracted processes, that we must go through subsequent to the change. And in our case, it's been 2 years. Buying a new house and moving in is change. Getting used to the new house, the new ways of doing things, a different impact upon your relationships, new routes to community locations, the accompanying different timetables perhaps, and the new neighbors. Can take months of adjustment. That's transition. Transitions require new ways of doing things. And this is not automatic. What is automatic is the 95% of the things we are doing now. We get so much more done with little effort or thought with 95% autopilot. We were talking about autopilot this morning in book school. Yeah. We get in a habit and we go the same way every time. Yeah. And what happens when you need to go to a different location? You still take the old route. Folding clothes and driving cars fall into this category, as do many of the routines around the home and office. We've been going through this transition process in unity for the past 2 years. We have survived and thrived during this interim period. The transition theory suggests that groups who take their time and don't rush people through transitions emerge as stronger organizations. Okay. So the board board has, we did not start our minister search in the first year after Candy's resignation. Partly because we understood them. The 5% that's left over is used to recognize and make necessary changes. So let's state the obvious. Something must end for something better to begin. And it can hurt, but there is a difference between hurt and harm. Everyone hurts when making change, leading to growth and productivity. Sort of feel the fear into it anyway. But it's not harmful. Harm leads to damage. Necessary changes often lead to hurt, but do not avoid hurt because you confuse it with harm. Pruning your favorite apple tree can hurt, perhaps, the tree, but it produces growth and development. And there's a fine art in that. But the ultimate idea is you sacrifice a little to get a lot. And in our process, we've sacrificed a little, 2 years without a minister, to come out with a lot. Someone that we feel is dynamic and has potential and promise. Since we are more competent within the familiar and more comfortable within the familiar, it is easy to slip back into old behavior patterns, especially under pressure. And as we welcome Reverend Joanne and begin to work with her, we will see some of this reversion behavior. It's the nature of the human being. However, the board is already implementing some of her requests as we work to bring her here and install her officially, and I've just made an announcement about several things that she's asked us to do. So are these changes, comfortable? No. Are they a little hurtful? Yes, because we have to spend a little money and we have to have volunteers to come and do some of this stuff, But is it ultimately going to benefit us? Yes. We will need time to get to know her and she us. It will be exciting and perhaps confusing at times, maybe even frustrating. But ultimately, no, I'm confident it will be good for all of us. And she's expressed these similar ideas in her in her lesson and in her interview with us. She seems to understand these processes, and that's good that we're on this same page, if you will, so evenly balanced in terms of that understanding of it. So, we say we're willing to go in the direction she's going to take us. Now, we will actually know that once she gets here and starts implementing her policies and asking us to follow her. This is why transitions require emotional awareness and regulation. Our emotional responses are real. It's how I feel. Some hear people say that. This is how I feel. And we say that word phrased differently than we say, well, what I think is, feeling is the way to guide, we rely on it. Every leader must acknowledge this. Embrace that fact that you're not comfortable. Then ask, where is the stress coming from? Analyze it from something that's wrong, or is it due to the transition in the change process? And Reverend Joanne says she has lots of experience in helping groups ask these questions and get the answer. That's a comfort, that she has that skill. Gaining insight into the stages of transitions is helpful. And here is a review of the 4 that Reverend Joanne presented to us when she was here. The first stage is already in place. That's routine. This is a state where we feel things are as they should be. Familiarity with certain routines makes the transitions easier to navigate. Sometimes it's a matter of building on the present, not eliminating it with an additive process. It could be as simple as canceling an in-person meeting and sending email instead. I love email. Waiting for the big improvement often results in no improvement. Yet small improvements can make a big difference over time. Don't change everything, just improve something. And I remember her saying that. You don't have to change everything. In fact, it's a bad idea to change everything, especially all the time. The second stage is a time of ending. This can create much discomfort, but it's normal. This is because it has more personal impact on our lives. Even the most talented leaders can feel conflicted about ending things and end up resisting it. This can make us crosswise with life itself. Endings are a time of disengaging ourselves from what we've previously known. Sometimes there's a little grief that goes along with it. What will we be ending? We will be ending our rotation of speakers and hearing Reverend Joanne's lessons and Zen fights on a regular basis. You know, we've said we wanted that. We've worked towards this goal for a couple of years. You know, and we've been, stewarded along by the board and by our guest speakers, and now we have to put that aside and start something new. And we'll be seeing the speakers again because Reverend Joanne has asked for occasional Sundays off. Shocking, but nonetheless. And, so the Speakers Bureau will still be in play. We just won't hear as often as we have this past year. A third stage is abeyance. It's a time of waiting for change to happen. It can be characterized by low energy, apathy, or ambiguity. In this state, people are blandly going through the motions without any real results. This is a condition where one adapts to misery because there is nothing they can do about it. It's out of control. This can be incredibly distressing for those professionals who view themselves as energetic and decisive. But thankfully, we Unitics have evolved through this stage and are, yes, yes.
Do we still get to remain Unitics?
Yes. We are anyway.
I hope she don't have a problem adapting to that, because the first time I heard it, I was like, lunatic. I heard a lunatic.
It's akin to that phrase.
We can be both.
Yeah.
See, we can't let it go.
And the stage of abeyance is actually what we went through the first year after Candy's resignation. Yeah, where things were a little, discombobulated and things were a little uneven, and we had a different speaker almost every Sunday. I mean, it was at a period of experimentation as well. Welcome, come on in. The key is to get through these stages to the fourth stage. And this is called starting. This is a time of energy, vision, hope, and excitement. New things are eagerly tried. Freedom to make projects is juicing everyone's into energy. This eventually becomes a routine, right back where we started. And so we've come full circle. The first year of our minister search, we actually didn't really start our search until the second year. We spent exploring a whole variety of things. And some of the speakers we had during that first year were fascinating. And some were as dull as could be. From my personal perspective, now, I realize that that's a unique opinion. But we were trying different things. We were, it was also an exciting time. Then during the second year, we settled into our rotation of 5 to 6 speakers. This has brought us to a sense, if not routine, at least of comfort. So we have that expectation. And we kind of have an idea of what the speaker's thematic elements are about. For example, almost every lesson Dave Scott has given has been on the subject of forgiveness. In some configuration or another. So we could just sort of understand that, it was important for him to convey that subject to us. Almost every lesson Anne gave had to do with forgiveness. And that was that kind of continuity is a level of comfort. That really brings comfort to people. And I've heard people say that. Now we are working toward developing a new routine of a regular speaker on a regular basis. So, these ideas help us deal with transition. And with all ideas or models, it's not always perfectly sequenced. Sometimes we move back and forth. But we were following this model, we, the board, whether or not we were always aware of it. And because the board was committed to this process, none of us should be feeling blindsided by the process of selecting a minister and working with Joel for the next few months. Now, if you didn't show up for the interview, and if you didn't show up to vote, well, that's it. You know what they say? Your vote is your voice. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm telling you you can't say anything. There's henceforth. But I might remind you of that. Where were you when we were going through this? And let's talk a little bit about responding to change. As Reverend Joanne shared with us during her interview, and with the congregation as well as with the board, she noted that to bring change into a small church involves several things: patience, gentleness, and sensitive leadership. And she said she has those qualities. And we feel that she has those qualities. Okay? Knowing why people respond will enable her to lead with sensitivity. Knowing how people respond can enable the leader to lead with patience, which she reminded us was one of her best qualities. Let's see about some of the things that she said, that she understood how people respond to change. Some people see change as a friend to be embraced. That there are those who are always ready and open for change. Let's try something new. Now, we said we want it. Some people see change as a companion to be selected with care. A far more significant number of people are open to change, but will not immediately embrace it. They're the second tier. They're not the out front folks. They are those who are willing to accept change, but they will approach it with more caution and with the need to be shown how it will be effective. They are the followers. You lead, I'll go along with you. They say things like, that sounds like a good idea, but... And Reverend Joanne says she knows how to demonstrate to these individuals the values and benefits of the changes she wants to make. And she said, we're going to do things differently. It's not secret. She said, I want to take you in this broader context. Okay? That's not a secret. So, we're going to be in for an interesting ride. Okay? I hate roller coasters, just to be clear. Some people see change as a stranger, to be accepted with caution, perhaps. These folk will eventually accept change, but only after some resistance. They need to prove it to me first, and then that kind of idea. The idea that we've never done it that way before kind of comes up. Or is it our tradition to do it that way? And while unistics are open-minded kind of folk, new agey kind of folk, we do have a central doctrine, if you will. We do have some traditions, that we like to hang on to and keep. So, Reverend Joanne has assured us that she has the skills to help these folks accept the change, even if they may not fully agree with it. We're asking that if you're in this category, that you at least be willing to give change the opportunity to succeed. She says she's persuasive. I'm looking forward to her ideas and her methods. change for any reason. And while this number may be few, they are often the loudest and the most willing to say why they're not willing to cooperate with change. We hear phrases like, that'll never work. Reverend Joanne says she has the ability to demonstrate love for them, yet will not allow this small minority to defeat the necessary changes she says she sees is necessary for us to move forward. And the board is willing to support her in all these changes that she wants to make. So hopefully you're in the first one or two categories, maybe the third. If you're in the fourth, look out.
Go with the flow, they say.
You're going in.
You're going anyway. We'll bring you along whether or not you're kicking or screaming. Change, these transitions do not just happen. They have to be kind of nurtured along and developed and planned. The board is supportive of these plans, as I just said. And we are eager to have her here and have her start implementing some of these ideas. And some of the changes that she's asked us to make prior to her official arrival, that I think is a kind of a precursor to the kind of leadership that she's going to demonstrate. Part of that demonstration is accountability. Part of that demonstration is to be cognizant of our responsibilities as a community. And while if you're not on the key list, you might have a different idea, it's an example of saying, yeah, we're becoming more responsible. And so, don't think of it as, don't take it personally, kind of what I'm saying. Joanne says that the strategies that she's going to take, to bring us into a state of growth, having more people here, being more presence in the community, has to do with this. Communication. Communicating why things may be necessary, or at least maybe not why, but, the perspective that she's bringing to what these changes are. And she says communication is critical, that she's going to be transparent. I get a complete sense of that. Just in the preliminary things that she presented to us, I get a complete sense of that. That it's an additive process, connecting the new things that she wants to do, and she's a thoroughly modern unity minister, let's put it that way, grounded in our traditions, grounded in unity thought, but looking at what the new modern world is about. So tying the changes she wants to see to the heritage of unity. And she communicates that in her interviews with us, and I thought very articulate. She says we will always have an opportunity to offer input. So that we always will have a voice, if you will, or access. And we are trusting that she will bring her negotiation skills and her nonviolent communication skills to this task. And she's saying that one of her strengths is to be able to relate the change vision that she has in mind to the needs of the group. And I got a sense that that was true, that she would be able to do that. We have to be open to it as well, but communication is an exchange. I didn't get the sense that there was any kind of dictatorial kind of trend there. But and I think that this will allow us to be stronger as a group and as a church and as a presence. She says, and this is repeating an earlier point, patience. That patience is one of her strongest skills. Change is never easy for some people in small churches. Therefore, she says she will give us time to process the change. And the word wait will be worth it. I have a feeling, just a sense, that this, once we get on board with this roller coaster she's envisioning, that it will go a little bit faster than we might think. fact is not necessarily good or bad. It's just how can we move along? We're all on the little train. We're all going in the same direction.
Throw your hands up and enjoy it.
Absolutely.
Hallelujah.
Scream all the way up and down, but hang on. And she said that she has an intent to give us the freedom to reject change at any time. Now, she may not reverse the decision just because we don't want it. But we will have input and an opportunity to engage in that dialogue with her. So, our task is, to stick to this commitment that we've made, to look forward to the processes that are going to be implemented. In the beginning, she probably won't make any radical different changes, that maybe rearranging the space. And what does space do for us? Think about how you relate to space and environment. And you can walk into a space and feel like it welcomes you, and you can walk into a space and feel like you're not really welcome in that space. And an example of a space in Fresno that is not welcoming is City Hall. How many of you have been to the new City Hall? Okay, did you feel like it was a welcoming space, Shannon?
In the cafeteria or the snack bar, yes.
And what is the purpose of a snack bar? Have people be relaxed and enjoy food and stuff. But if you want to go to a city council meeting, what is that configuration like? There's the chairs, but they're fixed. There's this huge space between the first row of chairs and the podium. And where's the city council?
Looking down on it.
And they're up above you.
Way up there.
And to even get there, you have to go through a huge flight of stairs, and you have to walk. It's not an opening space. Now, the old City Hall had a different emotional feel. And I look at buildings, and I get this impression about whether or not they're welcoming of people from the outside. They're not part of that group. I look at a lot of churches, and the windows are tiny, if they even have windows on the street side of the building. What does that say? To me, that conveys we have narrow minds, and we don't really welcome outside people. We don't want to be here. It sets up a barrier. It's a barrier. And I've gotten more interested in how geography, how people arrange their spaces to whether or not it brings people in, or not so sure they want people coming in, or really I don't, and I think it's sad that schools, for example, have been forced to build fences around them and regulate who comes in. To me that, it's a decision that's being forced on them by the behavior of strangers, if you will.
Right.
But it still conveys a message. They're the older school buildings, and it's the windows, the in and out, all the space. More modern schools, Sunnyside High is my favorite prison space, just the way it's built, and the way it looks. And I understand that it was built that way because of security issues, but still, I think they overdid it. But change, I digress, but the point was that Reverend Joanna said, I want to eliminate all this distance between me and you.
Oh.
So one of the things that will change is how she has this space arranged. Her relationship to us, is going to be different. She doesn't want a puppy, for example. So if you want to buy one, this one's for sale. Get one. Oh. And part of how space is arranged also kind of engages you emotionally with the people in that space. Is it, warm and welcoming, she's got that sense. She has this vision about how she wants to finish. You know, so her relationship to us in terms of her relationship to the geography of this space is, you know, that will convey a lot about what her intent is. So we're in for an exciting time. You know, and I'm glad to know all of you are here, and I see all of these little invisible folk who are not sure they're ready for this yet. You know, but we have a new leader, and you know, we're going to be her followers.
That's right.
Okay?
That's
Are
right.
we ready?